There's always clapping in my song.
Are all of these on?
Hello?
I always feel weird using the mic. I'm like, I just so far away.
There's not. 2 minutes to use this. It's fine.
How's everybody doing?
Great!
That's the enthusiasm I like to hear. Did everybody have a good day?
Yeah!
Is everybody exhausted?
No! Ready for the party?
Yeah, who's going to the party tonight?
Yeah! Am I the only one here? No!
Wait, is mine? Oh my god.
Yeah, good lord, you're right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Very good.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So it's just, this is Karli Woods down here at the end.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
And I'm
This is
Gurney. And this is just a Q&A panel. So
And
if you
this
guys
is
have
Leeanna.
questions, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry.
I'm actually not here. I'm just gonna take a nap.
She's been dead for a year. Only us can see her.
Zombie t-shirt.
All right, cool. No more jokes.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Okay.
So if you guys have questions, we have answers.
You can use the mic or not.
Yeah, we're all right.
Yeah, there's a mic here. You guys can line up if you want to be loud, or you can ask questions from your seats.
Yeah.
Do you guys have questions first?
Anybody at all? Yes, AJ.
Hey.
I won't know anyone else's name.
What was your first cosplays and why did you do them?
My first cosplay costume was Sailor Heavy Metal Papillon from Sailor Moon. What? One other person knows her. She appears in literally 2 pages of the manga. So I was like a hipster Sailor Moon fan. It was horrible, it was a complete failure, and it was a laughable attempt, but it was really fun, and I had a blast running around in my costume, and I remade the costume till 15 years later, something like that. I put it up on my Instagram, so that was really cool.
Awesome. My very first one that I actually made was my female Chewbacca, and I called it my Wokini. It was like a furry bikini.
Wokini?
And I was terrified because it was for San Diego Comic-Con, and in my mind, all I imagine is walking into the convention center and like all the seams exploding and like everything falling off. So it was complete terror, but I went into the con, I had so much fun. People were really sweet about it, and ever since then, I never stopped. So yeah, it was cool.
My first cosplay was Black Canary. It was just an easy closet cosplay I did to go to my first convention with my brother and his fiance. And then the first actual costume that I made was a very bad version of Katana from Mortal Kombat, and there's no photos of it.
That's always the best.
Hopefully I would like to make it again one day. It was very modest version too.
Oh, look at you. Yes, Kristen. And also, I won't know anyone else's name.
That's a lie. That's 2 for 2.
Oh, hello. Yes.
What are your dream cosplays? Like, if you had anything that you could do?
I just made Lady Sylvanas from World of Warcraft, and I have been attempting. Yes. I've been attempting that costume just in like bits and pieces for like 3 years. And Jessica Negri and her boyfriend Ryan Brandt, they were invaluable in helping me, and it was a total dream come true. Like being blind with the sclera contacts and wandering around the forest was genuinely like the best day of my life.
Where
It was
is that?
so much fun. It premieres next week on Patreon and on YouTube. Yes.
Exciting.
I think my dream, same thing. I've actually done my dream costume. It was a Stormtrooper. Ever since I was a little kid, I saw Darth Vader and Stormtroopers in the movies and on TV, and I always wanted to do that. So once I made it, sometimes I just wear it around my house. Like if I have to polish it or clean it, I just take it out and I wear it, and like the cats and dogs follow me around. It's really cute. But it just makes me feel really good, and it's one of those costumes that reminds me of my childhood and growing up with my brothers. And it's something that's like, it's a crazy feeling that you don't know how that feels until you accomplish it. But I don't have anything else on my list. I haven't thought of anything to replace it yet, so.
I want to do a really big build, but a Stormtrooper would be really cool, because it's a big build too. I just want something that's like really big, like your someone's like that. I want to do a really big build. I don't know who or what yet, but that's on my to-do list.
For all your big build stuff, do you guys do your own foam work and things like?
So for Sylvanas, I did. I was with, like I said, Jessica and Ryan. Ryan is really, really good with EVA foam. Jessica is really good with Warpla, so we kind of combined those 2 elements for the build. But EVA foam is so easy to work with. It's so forgiving, and you can just heat it and keep redoing it. Just like Warpla is also very forgiving, and you don't have to finish foam, which is really great, because I hate sanding in any form or fashion. So yeah, EVA foam is amazing.
And EVA foam is a lot cheaper too, so if you mess up, it's not as
You would have to do it again.
Yeah. And yeah, I've done all my stuff with my Warbler and EDA foam.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's like just starting out, like being a cosplayer? Like, what would you tell them?
I would say just attempt, like things are gonna look, like one of the things that I was talking to Jess about is whenever she does these builds, she doesn't post anything until she's primed everything for painting, which makes it all a uniform color, and it's so intimidating. And I was telling her that because I was like, when I looked at Sylvanas when we were making it, I was just like, I've looked at all your armor builds and they always look so uniform and so pretty. And she was like, I specifically don't put out photos before that because it looks like, not achievable, but it looks like, oh, like that's how you did that and that's how you did that. And like when you prime everything, it's just like, oh, it's like you casted the whole thing as one and it's so intimidating. So just remember that there's 100 steps before you even see the progress photos that people are putting out. And they're like, it's ugly, and there's hot glue, and there's warble pieces, and everything's shoved everywhere, and it's so forgiving when you prime it all. So just try and make something, even if it looks like a hot mess. Everybody's stuff looks like a hot mess when they start, but then you learn something every single time you attempt it. You learn like, oh, okay, I tried to glue this, and it melted, or I tried this, and it actually should have been over here. So when you try again, it's gonna look 10 times better. Even if it, like I said, looks horrible, you're always going to improve.
And I think, I mean, for me too, I've learned a lot by messing up. Actually, I've learned a majority of what I know how to do from messing up the first times or the first couple times, and that's okay. Most of us aren't like carpenters or master craftsmen. We figure it out as we go. And I think just try not to overthink it and just go for it. And you will mess up. You will have days where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, and take a break. It's okay to put something to the side and start something else. You don't have to start it and finish it in a week. You know, take your time.
So they're talking, I'm going to say something completely different because they're talking about the design element of cosplay. We get this question in every panel, and I really like it. I think it's really interesting. Just to refresh your guys' memories, it was, if you have any advice when you start cosplay. And I think this question can go so many different ways. If you, first of all, what do you want out of cosplay? I first ask everybody that. Do you want to just do it to have fun with your friends, or do you want to make it into a business? And if like that's the design side, and you know, there's trial and error, but if you want to make it into a business, there's so many different ways to do that. You can be a seamstress, you can make costumes for people, you can work with brands, you can be a TV personality. There's so many different ways. So I think, first of all, when you get into cosplay, is kind of think of what do you want out of it as an end result. And there's no wrong thing. If you want to do it just to have fun, that's great. If you want to learn different things about crafting, that's also great. But if you want to learn, social media or taking it in a different way, then there's just so many different paths. And then we can obviously talk about that into detail, but we're not going to get into it right now.
Yes.
What's the longest you've taken to make a single cosplay?
Well, like I said earlier, I worked on Sylvanas for 3 years, so that's probably the longest I've ever taken on a costume for sure.
I think for me, I did Siri, and it was maybe like 2 months, but it was spread out. I was traveling and working on a bunch of other projects, so I would do, I'd work 2 days on it, and then I couldn't for another week, so it was just spread out because of that. But typically, I have to make things very fast because it's in between work or convention, so I always want to make something new when I have 3 days, which is completely unrealistic, and I stress out over it, but sometimes I pull it off, which is why I keep doing it, I guess.
It's also like, sometimes it's important to do something in 3 days because you put it down and then if you put it down in your head, you start to build up why you put it down or like what's the tiny hurdle that's keeping you from going.
Yeah.
Whereas when you plow through, you just think like, oh, this is a problem. You think of a quick solution and you keep going.
Because you know you have to finish it at a certain time. Yeah.
I always like to have a deadline for myself if I'm trying to do a costume. I always book a photo shoot to shoot that costume a week after I've decided I'm going to start making it. That way I know I have a week to get it done because there's so many times I've started a costume and then never finished it. But my Wonder Woman costume, which I just did, probably took me about 4 or 5 days, and I worked on it straight along with 2 other costumes that I did in those 5 days because I had a shoot to do, which was for TV, so I had to get everything done. But yeah, I think 5 days.
Crazy. Yeah. Oh, sorry, there were 2 of you on this side. Can we go Pletcher first and then we'll go? Go for it. Yeah, you first.
Okay.
Like looking back at your cosplay careers, was there a specific moment that you realized that you sort of rose to the next level in terms of popularity, or was it all just gradual?
I had kind of a weird circumstance in that like my notoriety in the cosplay world comes from being a YouTube personality. So like people more often approach me at my booth to talk about SourceFed or Rooster Teeth. Than they do about cosplay, and I kind of just shoehorned something I've been doing since I was 14. Like you like me on YouTube, well you better like my cosplay. That's why I'm gonna come to this convention. So I didn't really have a moment where I was like discovered at a convention and people started inviting me places. It was based off of something else. So when I started working at SourceFed.
I think for me, I didn't really have a moment. Well, I started doing this. Cosplay wasn't a thing when I started doing this. People could have gone to conventions for years. I mean, since the 70s, people went to Star Wars conventions and wore costumes, but people didn't coin it as the term cosplay. It was just people that dressed up. And I started going to Comic-Con because I liked it and I was a nerd and I was into that kind of stuff. And I saw people dressing up. So when I first walked in those doors, I had no idea. I was like, why are they in costumes? I don't understand. But they were having so much fun, so I figured, well, next year when I come, I'm going to try and see how it goes. And I continue to just do it for fun. I started getting invited to conventions, but I never really thought of myself as this is a career for me. I just did it because I loved it, and I've always had other jobs on the side and other things that I'm working on. So even to this day, this isn't my only job. And I don't know if there might have been a moment where that was the moment that it became more than what I thought it was, but I never really recognized it. I just do it because I love it.
Same for me. I started doing YouTube and then fell into cosplay after interviewing Cosplayers, which Leeanna was one of the first. That's how we met. We interviewed Leeanna
in Toronto.
What was it, 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And then I realized that people did cosplay, more full time, and I fell in love with it. And I went back to school for fashion and learned how to sew and do things properly. And and then it just kind of turned into a job.
And then the next year, I think it was at Magneto, that you were at Magneto. She interviewed me and she showed up in a costume and I was like, oh my god, that was a year ago and look at you now. It was awesome.
It's the worst costume.
It was fine.
It's horrible.
No, it was not horrible. So we said you were next. Yeah.
To Ms. Vamp, it seems like your dream costume was a Stormtrooper outfit. Did you ever try going to like the 501st Legion at all, or?
I am a proud member of the 501st. I am TK6662. Yeah, so I'm in the Legion for my Femme Trooper for that costume. And what else do I have? I'm working on a Mando for, it's from Clone Wars. It's Bo-Katan and the Night Owls, so we have a group. Hopefully by the end of this year we're going to do like a photo shoot and have it all done. But it's been postponed and it was supposed to come out during Celebration. It didn't happen, so hopefully by the end of this year. But yeah, I'm official 501st for my Femme. Yes.
What kind of inspired you guys to get into the, cosplay business to the point where you're now, according to kind of celebrity cosplayers?
I've never heard such a backhanded question in all of my years. Well,
Maggie, you can go first.
I suppose I was inspired to become a so-called celebrity just by gaining a following doing what I loved. So the following came with I wasn't seeking out the following. The following just came to me when I was, like I said, on YouTube and working with Phil and working with Rooster Teeth. So yeah, I wasn't inspired to become a so-called celebrity. It just happened one day when I was working on YouTube.
Yeah, same for me, kind of from my answer from the other question. It wasn't something that I sought out as a career. I didn't think that this was a thing that would allow me to meet these amazing people and travel around the world and meet amazing fans. It was just something that stemmed from my love of conventions and Comic-Cons, and it turned into this crazy world, so yeah.
And for me, I went to film school and then started my YouTube channel, and we started going to conventions, just covering people of the con, and ideally what I wanted out of that is I wanted to make movies and work in film and television and work with conventions and providing them with content from different conventions, but there's no money in that, and I quickly learned. And then from there I discovered cosplay, and then it kind of changed from there. But yeah, it started from film school.
What are some of your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to cosplay?
Every week.
You say every week?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah.
Like just physically weak? Like
Yeah, that too. I'm not strong. Have you seen my arms?
I would have said before building Sylvanas that any sort of armor building was my weakness, but now I feel a lot more confident having done that. So I feel like any really technical sewing, like I know how to sew and I know how to pattern, but anything that becomes like really over the top, like a ball gown or something, would be like way out of my league. Where someone like Yaya Han is just like in her happy place, snoozing out a ball gown. She's so effortless. So yeah, I think that's probably where I'm the most.
Mine's the same as sewing. Patterning, I'm terrible at patterning. I try to watch videos and I try to get better, but it's just so intimidating to me. And I'm the type of person that's very hands-on. So if someone shows me, if I'm sitting with someone and they say, this is how you do it, this is the best way to do it, then I learn quicker. But I tend to just try to just go for it myself and not seek that advice or take a class. Like I probably would be suited to take a class and that would help me a lot. But sewing is very intimidating to me.
When I was in school for fashion, there were sewing classes, there was pattern drafting classes, and the pattern drafting classes were just so hard. I just never understood. One reason could be our teacher was like an 80-year-old Polish woman who didn't speak English, so she wasn't able to communicate that. But anyways, in pattern drafting, it's all math, and it's always been difficult for me to get it. But again, I need to be able to see things, so just having someone there to teach you is ideal, and YouTube videos, tutorials are very helpful nowadays.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to start cosplaying? Because I want to start cosplaying, and I'm starting to sew again, but I don't know like where to start. Like how?
What's your favorite character? Like what would you want to be if you had to pick something?
No, I probably want to come up with something like off the wall.
Like original or?
Yeah.
I mean, find things that inspire you, like your favorite fandom, something that you enjoy or you would feel awesome in. To me, it's all about how you feel and picking a character that when you put that costume on, you feel like a badass, and that's what it's about. And once you find that thing, and as long as it's something that you're passionate about and you love, you will work through all of the hard things. Because there's going to be moments where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. You're bleeding or you're tired and you're frustrated. But if it's a character that you have a connection with and that you love, it'll be easier to push through that. Because if not, if you're just kind of like, this is kind of cool, it's trendy, people might like it, you're going to find that you'll lose motivation really fast.
I actually found that, I don't know if with you guys, I found it harder to pick characters when I first started cosplaying rather than now.
Yeah.
And I think maybe now we've done so many, so you're like, oh, you fall in love with someone super fast and then you just do it. But when I first started, I was like, this is the costume, I need to make a decision now so everybody can see it because I'm going to be working so hard on it.
Is it a lot of like trial and error?
Yes.
100%.
All of it.
Yeah, especially on the construction side, like the character selection isn't always the hard part for me. It's more just like the actually making the thing. Like I have so many characters. I'm like, yes, and also that. I'm gonna do that, and then that one over there, and like it's actually like sitting down and being like, okay, I have to make a fishnet bodysuit. Like how am I gonna do that?
Yeah. But there's YouTube tutorials now for everything. And I remember, like, when I first started cosplaying, one of the reasons I wanted to get into doing YouTube was because there's no tutorials on Worbla, and I wanted to, like, actually film quality videos, because a lot of the videos were, like, really dark, and you couldn't see very well, so, but now there's tons of things online.
Yeah, now Kamui cosplay is
She was
everything.
horrible.
Yeah. She has, like, everything's on YouTube. She has books.
She has books.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, if you need to do any armor, check out Kamui Cosplay. Her books and her videos are amazing.
Kamui, Kamui.
Kamui?
She's German.
But her books are great, but I'd say her books skip more steps, whereas her YouTube, it's like it explains it and then it shows a photo like every like 2 or 3 steps. But when her YouTube tutorials, it's literally a time lapse of her doing it, so you can see in practice how she actually does it.
And just spoiler, she does it a lot faster than you'll be able to do it. She can whip things out so fast.
Yeah, it's great videos. Yes.
Yeah.
Just more for Meg. So I found you on SourceFed. That's where I started following you. Are you going to go back to any kind of projects like that, or is this kind of like your niche now? Like you found
So working at like a collaborative channel,
Like, right,
a
collaborative
Rooster Teeth or a
operation.
SourceFed, probably not. I did really like working, especially at Rooster Teeth, because video game journalism is like my dream job. And we kind of talked earlier, that's kind of, or I think you were the person who asked me about SourceFed earlier. It was one of the reasons I stepped away from SourceFed, because they stopped covering video games journalism, like any video game news. So I would love to go back and do that. And I made that one clear to Rooster Teeth as well. So I'm open to doing that with anybody, Nerdist or Kotaku or whoever. But I don't know that I would ever pick it back up as a full-time career at this point. Yeah. Aging.
So who are the important people in your lives that helped bring you to where you are today?
Leeanna.
Carly.
No, she got me into cosplay, so.
What's the story on that?
Well, I interviewed her originally for YouTube and for Fan Expo, and yeah, then we talked about cosplay and started doing it.
It was literally like right after she started doing it. For me, the community coming into this, I didn't know this was a thing. I had no idea. And there was people that were close to me, close in my area. There's a girl named Anessa, and I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con and seeing, she does Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and it is perfect. And I remember seeing this like beautiful creature walking down the aisle, and this Catwoman, she had the whip and she was doing the walk, and I was like, I want to do that. I don't know what that is, but I want to do that. And she's still a friend of mine today. Her and her husband are good friends of mine. I would have to say the person that kind of has helped me on my journey is my husband, Cameron. I wouldn't be here without him, and he's like my support system. We do everything together, and he was that person that if you would have told me I was going to be dressing up in a costume and going and standing in front of thousands of people, I would have laughed at you and walked away and said, you're crazy, that would never happen. And he helped build my confidence and told me it's going to be okay. And if it's not, and if it's terrible and you hate it, just don't do it.
And Cameron designed these outfits 11 years ago.
They're so cute.
And he's my support system, but I do have to say that the community that I'm a part of and all of these girls that I would have never had the opportunity to meet if it weren't for Comic-Cons and cosplay is like a gift that will be forever grateful for, because this is amazing.
I think for me, my grandmother made my first like real costumes. Like after I had crashed and burned at Sailor Heavy Metal Papillon, I was thinking, my grandmother knows how to sew like super well. She used to make like all my Halloween costumes when I was a kid. And she made a Chun-Li costume for me that I still wear to this day. And it's so well made, and it was just like so cool, and it made me feel like such a badass to put on. And it really inspired me to learn how to like teach myself how to sew, and like she taught me a lot with sewing as well. And also my mom, who's totally behind all of you. Hi, Mom. She comes to all my conventions and sells prints for me, so I wouldn't be able to do it without her.
In the back? I think
Yeah.
Now that you guys have gotten to the level that you're at in the notoriety, do you have, does sponsorship play any role in this? Do you have any like video game companies or movie production companies that contact you to say, would you be willing to do this character? Is there any sort of sponsorship involved?
Yeah, there definitely is. Almost always the sponsorship is, can you make this costume? We need it next week, and we'll pay you $10.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost always that bad. Sometimes you get things that are really good, and it's like, oh, cool, this is fun. But usually it's really bad.
You explained that very well.
When it comes to like
that's pretty much
cosplay,
it, yeah.
that's kind of what you get. I also do like influencer work with YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. That stuff's amazing. But when it comes to cosplay, there's still like a disconnect in what people understand as production. I actually got I didn't sign an NDA, so I can tell you, I got an ask from the new Godzilla movie. They called me and they were like, hey, can you come visit the set? And also, can you make a costume for like our army people, like that looks like it? And also, can you make all these YouTube videos? And it's next week, and like we'll tweet out your stuff. And it's like, no, I can't do that.
Like famous will pay you an exposure.
Yeah,
like exposure doesn't pay my bills.
It's super cool that your movie is shooting right now and you want to make that stuff, but like I cannot just sneeze out this costume that you want me to make. So with
You don't accept
costumes.
exposure dollars?
Yeah, exactly.
Not anymore. There's a lot of those out there,
Yeah,
but I
to the
feel
point.
like you can't accept those too often.
Unless it's like this crazy big thing that's a lot of exposure. But there are really great brands too that do connect with you and you do work with.
Yeah.
I actually have an agent like who who is that middle person who works with brands and sponsorships, and then they contact me if they're interested, and then I will pitch them ideas, and then if they're interested in any of those, then I will make that content for them.
The one cool thing though is that brands are actually open to cosplay now. I mean, a couple years ago they would have said, what is this and why do we care? But a lot of brands are becoming aware of Comic Cons and the huge fan base that it has. So the doors are opening, which is great. It's just about telling them that being paying $10 is not gonna really cut it. So yeah, you sometimes have to stand your ground and say no to a lot of things because you have to set your value.
Know your worth.
Yeah.
Know your worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the craziest fan experience?
Craziest fan experience. I once met a little girl at San Diego Comic-Con who I was dressed as Slave Leia, and she came up to me, Princess Leia, can I get a photo with you? She was probably like 6 years old. And I was like, yeah, of course. We took a photo, and then she turned to her dad when we were done, and she goes, when I grow up, I'm gonna dress like her. And I said, I'm so sorry. It's like my favorite interaction ever.
Craziest fan experience. It was a couple of years ago, and it was, I think we were somewhere in Texas, I don't remember the show, and I was walking through somewhere, and this guy, it was like one of those inflatable costumes, and honestly, I don't even remember what exactly it was, and he runs, like I literally see him, and he screams my name, and he runs, and I'm walking with my husband, and he's like trying to get something, but he can't because he's all inflatable and his arms aren't moving, but he reaches into his bag, and he grabs a ring pop, and he gets down on one knee and he proposes to me, and my husband is standing right there, and my husband's just laughing, and he looks at him kind of like, is this okay? Can I do this? Is it okay? And my Cameron just starts laughing, and he's like, yeah man, do whatever you want, go for it. And so he proposes to me, and I didn't say anything, but he just put the ring on it, and he's like, you totally have it, I know that's your husband, and I know I can't really marry you, but I just wanted to give you a ring pop. I'm sorry if this was awkward. And I walked away, and I was like,
That's
okay,
so
thanks.
cute.
And I ate it, and it was delicious.
So like my brain's not working right now, and I can't think of anything. The only thing I can think of is not positive.
That's fair.
I mean,
But
Karli,
are you guys interested in hearing that?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
have you heard
The
this
guy,
before?
yeah.
Oh.
It was actually in Orlando. Somebody told me he wanted to eat my obliques. And
She said the story the other day, and I was like, what? I thought she said something else, and I didn't understand what she was saying, and I was like,
it was
you mean
very
like
intense, very vulgar. Yeah. It's a long story. We won't get into it, but that's like the thing that's topic.
When you say you want to eat someone's body parts, it's probably not a good
Not a
probably
good
not
thing.
ask
Just
that.
don't do that. I'll finish it on a positive note, in that in the same day that the little girl came up to me in Princess Leia, I also was in the loading bay of San Diego Comic-Con, and Mark Hamill was waiting to be interviewed. And he came over and he goes, man, in my day we couldn't pay girls to wear that, and if we did, they didn't look like you. And I was like, thanks, Mark Hamill. It's nice to meet you. And that was it. And then he just tottered away.
I have a Mark Hamill story too.
I have one too. So you tell your Mark Hamill story.
Okay, now my brain's working. So I make tutus. I have like 12 different tutus, and I have a BD-8 tutu when the new Star Wars had come out. And it was Fan Expo Canada. It must have been 2 or 3 years ago. And I was asked to deliver a cake to Mark Hamill, like a Star Wars cake, by Cakes Co. She's amazing. You should check her out. She makes really cool cakes. And I brought him my cake, my BB-8 outfit, and he gave me a thumbs up, and he told me that he liked my dress. So that was exciting.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
So it was Dallas Fan Expo. Mark Hamill was there, and I have a friend that works photo ops, and he said, hey, if you want to get a photo op with anyone, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You're just saying that to try to be nice, but it's not going to happen. And so he texted me later in the day, and he knows I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and he said, hey, come over to photo ops, I have something for you. And he said, make sure that you bring Cameron, like find someone to watch the booth, and you need to come at this time. So I'm like, okay, Cameron, we got to go over there right now. So we go, and he's like, just wait in this line. And immediately I'm like asking the people around, because he didn't say anything. I'm like, what are you guys in line for? Oh, we're in line for Mark Hamill. We've been waiting for like 3 hours. So first of all, I felt terrible because he put me at the front. And I was like apologizing to the people. And so we go, and I've never had a fangirl moment like ever in my entire life. I just, everybody's people, we're all people, and we're all like human beings, we're all the same. And so I walk in, and I started sweating when they started letting the line in, and I started getting really nervous, and I looked at Cameron, and I'm like, what is going on? He's he's like, you're fine, just relax, it's gonna be fine, it's just a picture, like chill out, what's wrong with you? And we go in the line and he's sitting in the chair and I don't remember anything. I walked in and I immediately, whatever happened, they took the picture, I walked out and I just looked at the camera and I said, was that, like I'm sweating, literally, like I have lip sweat. And I said, was that okay? And he was like, what do you mean, was that okay? And I was like, was I okay? Because I don't remember anything that just happened. He's like, yeah, you talked to him, you shook his hand, he said a joke, you laughed. And I was like, I remember nothing. And we go pick out the photo and they like sitting right there and I literally, I'm like smiling like a 5-year-old. And I was so happy and slowly the memories started coming back to me afterwards. But that was my one and only like freak out experience. And now I'm like, I understand. Yep. When everyone says they have, I'm like, now I understand. I don't know what came over me, but
the photo ops are super fast.
It was so fast.
Yeah.
It was so fast.
I've had two like freak out moments with celebrities, and one of them was I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was working all weekend, and it was Sunday, and I was leaving, and I was looking for something to get Gavin, and I saw someone holding a sign for Bob's Burgers cast signing. And I was like, oh man, like, did you have to get a ticket? Because usually for signings, you have to get like a ticket. Yeah, you raffle. And I was like, man, did you have to get a ticket for this? And the girl was like, no, actually the line's open if you just want to jump in. And I was like, oh my God, really? So I'm like, we're both huge Bob's Burgers fans. And so I was like, oh, I was like stoked. I like got in the line. I think I waited like literally 30 seconds. They handed me like a commemorative poster and you go down the line. So I met like everybody, like the guy who does Tina, I met H. John Benjamin, and I'm like, hi. And I get to John Roberts who does Linda. And he was a YouTuber before he did Linda with this like New Jersey mom YouTube. Yes. And that's what I know him from. And I literally was like, I was like, so nice to meet you. Like, H-John was sitting next to him, and I'm like, yeah, Archer's cool. It's so great to meet you. My son is gay. It's like my favorite video. And he was so gracious. He was like, all right. And I was like, oh my God, so cool. And I was such a dork about it. And I actually made a video on my YouTube, and he tweeted me. It was like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Sweet. It was so cute. And then the second time was I met Yoshiki, who's the drummer for X Japan, which is like my favorite Japanese rock band, and I've idolized him since I was like 15, and I used to watch his videos, and he's so inspiring to me. And they did a documentary recently called We Are X about the story of X Japan, and it was so cool. I was actually asked to interview him and then host a screening in Austin of the documentary. And I met him for the interview before, and I played it so cool, you guys, except I accidentally flipped 2 names of people in the band asking him a question. I think about it like once a week. I did that, and he had to correct me, and I'm like, he probably thinks I don't know anything, and I'm such an idiot, and he probably never thought of it again. But I think about it like once a week. But anyway, I like met him, and then I had to get him, the interview was at a hotel, and then I had to drive to the screening, and I was like, okay, I'll see you at the screening. And then I got in my car and just cried, because I was just like so jacked up on emotions, like I was so excited to meet him. So I like kept it together to meet him, but then I got in my car and was like, oh my God. Was it okay? Yeah, I did okay. Anyone? Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest don't
The biggest don't? When it comes to like fans interacting with cosplayers, or just
as a cosplayer,
as a cosplayer?
I guess.
Biggest don't.
I thought you said at first the biggest dump, and I was like, I don't know if that's
I have to go biggest. It's really hard to think of something as a cosplayer that you shouldn't. I mean, don't be shitty to fans.
Yeah,
like don't be shitty
Don't
in general.
not wear undergarments with your costume.
Yeah, wear like
that's
a dancer's
life
belt
thing,
if
though.
you're wearing.
Like just put underwear on.
Yeah, neutral good.
Someone's
Oh, you mean like steal someone's
What did you sorry?
like don't steal someone's idea. I would say the biggest don't there is don't not credit people for doing things for you.
Like, it's easy to just say this person inspired me, or I look up to this person, or
Or like if someone makes something for you, like check out my new blankety blank cosplay prop made by @so-and-so. Like it's okay to commission things and to not be able to make something, or to be able to make something but choose to support another artist.
Exactly.
Like just shout them out. Like every single time that you post a photo in that costume, you should be like headset made by so-and-so, or like bodysuit made by blah blah blah.
I totally agree with that. There's some things that I'm just not good at, and someone's better at it, and I would rather pay someone to make something that I can promote them, and they can get business from me promoting it. you know?
100%. It's so easy to do, and people just will not work with you if you don't credit them properly. So it's very, very easy to like rock that boat. Yeah.
Thanks, Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I chose. Lady in the back. Hi.
Me?
Yes,
Okay. I was just wondering what your favorite cosplay costume is and what the longest costume, how long it took you for like your longest costume that you've ever made.
So we answered that longest one earlier.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, 3 years for me.
I was like, I did 5 months.
Yeah. But favorite costume I've ever done, probably right now, it's always the one I just finished, because I'm always most excited about that one. So Fullness is my favorite costume I've ever done.
My favorite to wear at cons, I love Freddy Krueger. It's like one of my simplest costumes, just a bodysuit and claw. And I didn't even make the claw, someone else made it for me that actually makes like movie prop claws. But I just love Freddy Krueger so much, and I love wearing that costume, and it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge horror fan, and when people come up and are huge horror fans too, it's exciting for me because I can talk to them about that. But Stormtrooper is also another favorite. I just don't like traveling with it and wearing it to cons because I can't move. Like I can't hug people, I can't bend down. It's just uncomfortable. So yeah, Stormtrooper and Freddy Krueger.
Mine was one of my first tutus, which was R2D2, and it's called R222. And
Really cute.
It's just cute, and little girls love it, and they think you're a princess, and it's just really pretty to wear. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Yes, AJ.
So, for better or worse, Jessica Negri has changed cosplay as a whole as an industry. So, how exactly has she affected your careers in a way?
I think Jess is one of the most positive influences in cosplay, period, the end, like full stop. She's so sweet and so supportive of other people and so open to supporting other people. She shares other cosplayers on her Facebook page all the time, and I think she's really been a beacon of the general public can beat you down and call you this and call you that and degrade your career over and over and over, and you can overcome just by being positive, and I think that's been really inspiring to me.
I've known Jess since the very beginning. I actually met her and her family, oh God, it's gonna date me, it was like 8 years ago, maybe longer. And it was when she did Pikachu. And we used to see each other really just annually. We see each other at Comic-Con, and I would always spot her parents because they were so sweet, and they would, for the first time we met that weekend, they didn't remember my name, so it was like evil cheerleader girl, because I used to wear this costume, or a different version of this costume. And I've known her for a really long time, so I've kind of grown with her in the community. And the one thing I love is this can be very difficult. And when I first started, people were very mean. And at the beginning, you take everything that everyone says, and you take it to heart, and you read everything. And I would go on to forums, and I read it, and I literally would cry. And I know she experienced that too. You experience all the hate. And I do have to say it takes a really, really, really strong person to be able to overcome that. And I'm proud of her in that sense, because I feel like when everyone is attacking you and everyone is tearing you down, it's so easy to just say, you know, why am I doing this? I should just stop. But the fact that you don't and that you continue, it takes a lot of balls, and that's a huge influence to everyone in the community. And I think that's something everyone needs to know, that you shouldn't do this for anyone else, you should do it for yourself. And as long as you're happy, your fans will support you, and your fans will be there no matter what. So just always know that it's about being positive, and she's exactly what Meg said. She is super positive about it.
Everything that you guys just said. She's really positive, and if, again, when, you know, doing sexier costumes, she's very strong about it, and she's very positive. If anybody else wants to, you know, do things similar, she's very strong, and yeah, she's a great person.
I would say that she's also really good with, for a period of time in the cosplay community, there was like this weird ownership of particular costumes. Like it would be I did a little sister from BioShock, so no one else can do a little sister from BioShock.
Yeah, like I did it first.
I did it first, and no one else can do that. And like it was really, it got a little out of hand. And Jess has always been like, I did such and such, you should do it too. Mm-hmm. Here, you want to borrow my props and do it? And like, I texted her when I started doing boudoir. Like my Sexy Liz was the first like boudoir cosplay crossover that I did, and I texted her before it, and I was like, I know you just started doing this like boudoir cosplay thing. I think it's really cool. I want to do like this sexy Elizabeth costume. Are you cool? And she was like, baby girl, do not text me about this. You can do you like 100%. If you need pointers, let me know. But I don't own this. And you don't have to ask me for permission. Like, she was just really sweet. Like I think she's kind of like busted that up.
Yeah, that says something about you guys and your relationship, that you want to make sure it's okay. And I think that a lot of us, like, the community seems really big, but it's actually really small.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of conventions, but we all know each other, and I think it's a lot harder to not be cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's way easier to just talk to each other and, you know, be part of that community and be cool with each other than it is to not. So I feel like a lot of us know that, and you know from experience. So when we can just text each other and ask each other questions and be there and support each other, it really makes this something that you feel proud to be a part of.
But I think it also wasn't like that a long time ago, and we've worked on it, and now I feel like the community is so much stronger now than it ever has been.
Yeah. Well, and you choose to take it how you want to take it, you know. How are we doing it?
Jerry, you had a question.
What's the most rewarding part about what you do?
Little kids.
You guys.
Little kids.
Little kids. I was
They
in
come
my
up to you and they
community.
think you're the real thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh,
Yeah, we had some really cute kids in Fan Expo Canada.
Oh my God.
Like,
They should have a show. They were so hilarious.
The cutest kids. Remember the little Minnie Mouse I got a picture with?
Yeah.
And she took both of our weapons and she's holding them
Yeah,
and she's
so
running
cute.
around. Yeah, and there was this little baby. We actually know the
mom and dad.
The mom and dad. We've been seeing them for years at this show, and they showed up this year with a newborn baby, and they had matching costumes.
They were all
with
the
three of
Punisher.
them. They were all
So
Punisher.
cute.
And then on the second day, she was Stranger Things. She was
11.
She was 11, and then they were, who were they?
I don't remember.
They were different characters from Stranger Things, but she was little baby 11. And they just had the cutest outfits.
I think for me, the coolest thing is when someone comes up and says that you've inspired them or you've helped them get over something, because coming into this, I just did this because it was fun. I never thought that I would inspire anyone. So when I hear someone come up and say, like, what you did has helped me, or seeing your costumes has inspired me to make a costume, like, to me that means so much, because I never thought I would do anything that would really leave an impact like that on somebody else.
And I was used to say my community, like, seeing you guys in person is just so crazy, because usually you do everything online, and doing this job is pretty lonely because you're working at home by yourself. And just knowing that my community has become friends with other people within it, and they go to conventions together now, and it's just crazy. We just have a cool family. Does anyone
Do I get to
have
read?
kids still?
We have, what time is it?
6:43.
What time is it?
6:43.
Cool, we got 6:43, so like maybe more questions. Yeah, quick, we'll go try to do it quick.
Yeah.
I know in cosplay there's a lot of wigs that come into play. Do you guys have like any like success/horror stories when it comes to that?
To wigs?
Wigs, I hate them so
I'm
much.
excited.
My horror story, I know we're doing like super quick, but my horror story, MCM London last year, I wore a wig that had a comb in the front. It was a Harley Quinn like pre-ponytailed wig.
Oh, like to put it in your
Yeah,
hair?
to like put it in your hair, and it like cut my scalp, and I had like a bald patch in the front of my hair forever, and I will never wear a wig with a comb in the front ever.
I have one. I feel like I need to take it out right now.
He's so cute because it wasn't bothering me at all that day, and I guess it just like slowly worked its way into my scalp, and it's like, oh, it was not good.
That's where that headache came from.
I used to hate wigs, and then I realized how much easier it is to, when you get up in the morning and you're getting dressed and you have to do your makeup and then you have to do your hair, and I'm like, oh, if I just have a wig, I put it on. And once I realized it takes away like 30 minutes, I was like, forever, I'm always gonna have a wig on.
But they're not the most comfortable
No, they're
thing.
not.
But really, like, this is a good tip that I've learned. Wig caps can be very, very tight throughout the day. So there's the really thick headbands that are a lot looser, and they have texture in them, and you can just put that over your hair. And the wigs actually have something to hold on to, or you could pin it in. And I find those are a lot with less pressure on your head throughout the day.
My head is throbbing right now. It's been throbbing for like the last 4 hours. Okay.
Yes, Kristen, go.
Right here, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I lied to you.
First of all, thank you for that advice about the wig. My head is throbbing.
Yeah.
And just a quick question. I don't know if you're able to say or not. Is Cosplay Melee coming back? Because I really love watching that.
I don't know yet. They haven't given us a date for filming season 2, but my recommendation to anyone that loved it is harass them on social media, tweet at sci-fi at Cosplay Melee and say you love the show, when is it coming back? Because once we build that army and if we're annoying enough, they'll get on it faster. So
Annoying go.
yeah,
Yes.
be annoying for me, please.
To the annoying.
More questions? Before you guys got into cosplay, what kind of jobs were you all done?
That's a good question.
I have 2 degrees. I have a degree in history and a degree in mass communications. And marketing at DeviantArt. That's my real job. Yeah. So if you want a contest, I talked to you.
Oh, you worked for DeviantArt?
Yeah, I worked like in their LA office. It was at the time much bigger than people I think assumed. So yeah, I worked in marketing.
I worked retail. I worked in Circuit City. I did home audio and home theater, and then I did catalog modeling for like an online, kind of like a Forever 21 type store. And I hated both of those jobs. So it was great to be able to say I quit.
I actually loved my career before cosplay, and I love what I do now because I can incorporate everything, so this is really like a dream job. But I worked in reality television. I worked as a production assistant and a coordinator on a bunch of different Canadian TV shows, and I also was a talent agent for a kids talent agency. So I used to did this kind of stuff, but behind the scenes. So I would do all the casting for different TV shows with kids and things like that. So all the entertainment.
One more? I know he had his hand up in the back and he hadn't heard.
My question is basically, when you come to like Comic-Con, do they give you the booth or you have to pay for the booth?
If you're a guest of the convention, you do not have to purchase your booth.
Yeah, they cover all that stuff.
One more. That was kind of like
Kristen, yeah, we have someone that had. Okay.
What do you guys think about like people in the community judging bought costumes versus handmade? Because I've noticed it like starting to discourage people from even wanting to get into cosplay at all.
I think that used to be a lot worse. I think a lot of the top girls like 5 years ago used to be really vocal against buying anything, and if you like, how embarrassing to come to Comic-Con and be wearing something that was bought. And now I think people really see like, we're supporting other artists out there. Like there's a difference between like, I went to Spirit and got like a $20 Wonder Woman costume, and I went to UD Replicas and I spent $1,500 on my Wonder Woman, you know what I mean? Or I commissioned it from someone on Etsy. Like, I think there's a spirit of just support. We're excited that you're there. We're excited that you're part of the community. And if a lot of people start with buying and then get into making, and that's kind of how you see something that's made. So there's no reason anyone in this community should look down on anyone else if they're not hurting or discouraging someone else with their actions. So
I agree. It takes a lot of guts to put something on and put yourself out there in front of other people. And there's no cosplay handbook. There's no rules that say this is how you do it. You can do it however you want and make it suit you. And again, if you feel badass, then you do that.
Yeah. That's exactly why I always ask people what they want to do when they get into cosplay. Because if you do want to get into being a seamstress full time, then you need to make those connections with cosplayers to promote your stuff. And so I always work with different friends that are seamstress and make different props because I want to support them within the industry.
Do what makes you happy. It makes you feel good.
Small businesses for the winter.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the weekend. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And we'll see you at the after party tonight.
Yes, karaoke all night.